By the end of the summer of 1939, Europe was already unstable. Borders had been challenged, treaties ignored, and tensions left unresolved. Officially, peace still existed. But beneath the surface, the balance that had held since the last war was already gone. In the early hours of September 1st, most of the world was asleep, unaware that history was about to turn. There were no announcements, no warnings broadcast over the radio, and no formal declarations. Only silence remained, heavy and unresolved, hanging over Europe just moments before it would be broken. Near the free city of Danzig, a German battleship waited at anchor in the darkness. Officially, it was there as part of a ceremonial visit, nothing more. Unofficially, its presence had been calculated weeks in advance, positioned carefully to ensure that when the moment came, no delay would be necessary. At exactly 4:45 in the morning, the waiting ended. The German battleship Schleswig-Holstein opened fire into the fog. These were not warning shots and not an accident. They were the result of planning and intent. In that moment, the line between political pressure and open war was deliberately crossed. The shells struck Westerplatte, a small Polish military transit depot on the coast. It was not a major fortress, nor a decisive strategic target. Its importance lay elsewhere. By choosing this location, the attack transformed a regional dispute into a military invasion, leaving no room for negotiation or retreat. German commanders expected the position to fall within hours. Instead, fewer than 200 Polish soldiers resisted. They were isolated, heavily outnumbered, and under constant bombardment. Still, they held their ground. From the very first day of the war, resistance replaced surrender as the opening response. The defense of Westerplatte lasted 7 days. It did not alter the outcome of the campaign, and it could not stop the invasion of Poland, but it established something fundamental. The war would not begin with immediate collapse. Even under impossible conditions, opposition would exist. While the fighting continued along the coast, German forces advanced rapidly across Poland. The attack came from multiple directions, coordinated by land and air. What had started with a single action now unfolded as a full-scale invasion, moving far beyond its original point of origin. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. The conflict could no longer be contained through diplomacy or delay. What had begun quietly, without ceremony, now demanded an international response. Europe had crossed into a state of war that would soon engulf much of the world. This escalation did not happen by misunderstanding or miscalculation. It followed a deliberate choice made in full awareness of its consequences. From a single moment, the conflict expanded outward, connecting nations, armies, and civilians into a war that would soon span continents and oceans. The war that began here would last 6 years and claim more than 60 million lives. None of that scale was visible in these first hours. What could be seen instead were the earliest consequences: damaged ground, abandoned positions, and the unmistakable sense that something irreversible had begun. World War II did not begin with celebration or victory. It began with a choice, followed by violence and then silence. In that silence stood the evidence of what had already happened. The war was no longer a future possibility. It was now a reality, and there would be no return to what came before. The war had its first shots. Soon after, it would have its first ship lost beneath the sea. That story comes next.